Hi folks, welcome back to my channel World of Flutter. So today we are going to see the implementation of the URL launcher package. If you want to see the whole implementation using the URL schemes different that we already have here listed, then please watch this video till the very end. So let's start. So first of all, this URL package is present in pub.dev and it's licensed BSD3 clause, which means it's an official package, and the publisher is flutter.dev. And as per the likes, pub points and popularity, this package is very suitable if you want to launch the URL and certain other features. So the platform that it can be used is on Android, iOS, Linux, Mac OS, web and Windows, which means that it can be used in all these platforms. So as for installation, you can either use this particular command or else you can use this particular line of code, paste it in your YAML file and do pub-get. So let's go with the second option. Okay, so here I already have a basic UI with me, which has an app bar and a button here which has an on pressed and a text saying launch URL here. So first of all, we'll go in pubspec YAML. Here under dependencies, I'll add this particular line of code. If my app is already running like here, so I'll just stop it and click on pub-get, or else you can directly click on pub-get. Once you click on pub-get, pub-get will run and it will add all the different platform dependencies that you have regarding this particular package in your project. So once it's done, it will tell you the process is finished and now you can run your application and check. Okay, so this is how you will be able to install it. After that, you had to import it in the file where you need to use it. So just click on, like, copy paste this line of code and just go to the file where you're going to use it. So I'm going to use it in main.dart, so I have imported it here, right here. Now let's go back to the readme and let's see the implementation. So before implementation, I'll want you guys to know that there are different URL schemes that we are going to use here. So I'll show you three of them. The first and the basic scheme is the HTTPS scheme. So here's a table of the different schemes, as you can see. So what is a URL scheme? A URL scheme is a protocol that is used to access some resource. So this is HTTPS scheme, then we have mail to telephone, SMS file. All of these schemes can be used using this package. So let's first go and see the basic scheme, which is the HTTPS scheme. Okay, so here we already have an example and I'm going to use this pretty much the same example. So I'll go in my project. Here I already have this URI. So we already have a URL that we want to launch, and from that URL we will make a URI that will be passed in our launch URL function. So this method I have made here, and it's calling the launch URL. If it's working fine, then it will launch, otherwise it will throw the exception. So this method I have built outside my build method and or function, and I can use this in my on pressed of the button. So I have the button here and it has an on pressed, and I can use this function here. So let's check this out. If I click on it, it's launching flutter.dev, which means it's working absolutely fine. So this is using the URL scheme which is HTTPS or HTTP also. So let's go back and we'll be back in our application. So let's see another scheme. Let's say I want to make a phone call. So I want to make a feature in which if I click on a button that says make a phone call, I'll be able to make a phone call using the input that I have provided to the app. Okay, so for providing the input, let's make a text field. So let's go into the example here. This examples is very useful. It's a very detailed example and you can also use it and check it out. Different situations and scenarios they have made here. You can just use it also, and it is very helpful and detailed. So let's start for the phone call. Before we start for the phone call, let me tell you one thing. So we have some configurations that we have to deal with when it comes to iOS and Android. So I'm using Android here, you can see. So I'll just make the changes in the Android. So why do we need to make that change? There's a function called can launch URL, and in that function we can use the queries parameter. So for using that and the can launch URL function, it will check for the support. So if your phone has an SMS support, or if your app has a phone call support, so it checks for support. And to check this, you need to add this piece of code in your Android manifest. So if you're working with Android, add it in the Android manifest, or else if you're working with iOS, then add this in the info.plist file. So you have to do nothing, just copy paste this whole code, go to your project, go to the Android manifest file under the Android folder, and it says to add it as a child of the root element. So just your root element is manifest, so add it as a child here before your application. Okay, that's it, that's the configuration. Okay, now let's see how to implement the telephone scheme. So we are going into examples here. So first of all, I'll just copy paste this has call support. This is a boolean that I'm going to use. I'll show you the use later. Then I'm going to copy this also, phone, which is the string in which I'll save the phone number that the user will enter. So I'll just do like this. Then I have to make a function. Like for example, this function was for HTTPS scheme. Now I'm going to use a function which will be for telephone scheme, and this function is already here. The function's name is make phone call, so I can just copy paste this over here. Yeah, okay, so this is the scheme is telephone, and the phone number will be the phone number that we will provide, and it will launch the URL. So you can make function like your own, like this also. So you, let's go further. So this is for telephone. Now I'll call this function in my button. So first of all, we need to make a text field over here. So I'll just use the same UI that they are using here. So there's this text field. Okay, so I'm going to use a container again, and I'm going to give the text field as a child of that container. Okay, and the container will have a margin. Let's say I give the margin to be symmetric horizontal from the left and the right to be 70. I think that would be enough. I can make it a constant. Yeah, so this is your text field with a hint text that says input the phone number to launch. Now I need one button also, on the click of which I'll be able to make the phone call. So again, I'll just make a button right below it, and here I don't need to use this set state. This is an additional feature that they have built. You don't need to use that. You can just make your phone call directly by calling this method make phone call. Okay, so has call support is the boolean that I'm using to display my button, whether it's supported or not. Okay, and that we will use for it. So right now it says calling not supported. Why is that? Because the default value is false here, and I have not changed it. So to change it, we need to call that can launch URL also, or you can directly change it using set state also. So I am going to use and change its value using the init state. So you can use a can launch URL any place you want, but init state is the most recommended. So above my build method, I'll override the init state, and here I'm going to use the can launch URL. Here, since I already have that configuration in my manifest, it will work fine. It will give me the result as true. Now if I do a hot reload, my has call support, whatever result I'm getting, that should become true. Okay, so default is false, and let me do a hot restart. Yeah, so we'll be able to see that okay, this has been turned to true, set state has been called, and you can see you can make the phone call now. So now all I have to do is just check whether this is working or not. So I'm going to put some numbers, and I'm going to click on this make phone call. Now this make phone call will check for the app that is supported in your phone. So I have 3 apps right here, and I can just click on any one of these because I don't have a default selected already. So I'll just click on phone, I'll click on just once, and it will take me to the phone app in which I can just click on call, and I'll be able to call. So that is how you can use this method to make a phone call. Similarly, you can use the same method and make a few changes and make a new method, or we can do that also to mail to. Like for example, if you want to send a feedback email, or if you want the user to be able to send their email by clicking on a button, so that's also you can do. So let's make a mail to scheme. Okay, I'm going to make a function, of course, which is future, and I'll name it as email me, and I'll pass a variable named as email, of course, because we need email to send the email. Okay, and here I'm going to use this code. In the readme I have an example for mail to, so this particular piece of code I'm going to use. Okay, so this I'm using. Here the path, whatever path you'll give, that is the receiver's email, so I'm going to give it as world of flutter. And if you don't need query, you can just remove it, like I have removed it here. Okay, so world of flutter @gmail.com, that is what I'm going to give. And here also I'll just change it to mail to, and I'll just change it to the same mail. Okay, now instead of make phone call, I'm going to use this email. Okay, and instead of phone, which is being passed in the text field, I'm going to make one more string variable, which is my email, let's say, and again it will be a private variable, so underscore is required. So wherever I've used phone, I'll just replace it with email. Okay, and that should be fine. And of course I'm going to change the text also so that it be less confusing, so I'll just say send email. Okay, now if I change it and I write something, okay, here we go, and I want to send this, so I'll just click on send email, and it will again ask me for the default apps. So it could find only 2 apps, which is Gmail and Outlook. If you have more apps, Yahoo or something, then that will also be in the list, or whatever your default app will be there. So if you click on just once, it will take you to your email, and the 2 will be in your world of flutter, the one that you have entered right here in your method here. So that will be your receiver, and you can send the email as you like. And if you go back again, you'll go back to the application. So this is how you can implement the different URL schemes here. So I have shown you 3 of the URL schemes, which is HTTPS, mail to, and telephone. SMS, for SMS also we have right here an example of SMS, which you can use and check whether it's working. And for file is basically used when you're dealing with desktop platforms. So desktop platforms as in Windows, Mac OS, Linux, then file can be used. For that we have certain different functions as well, like for exist sync, which tells us whether the path even exists or not. And the same function launch URL, you'll pass the URI and you'll be able to launch the path. So this also you can check out, and similarly with the SMS. So these 2 you can check and practice on your own if you want to embed it, and the first 3 I have given the summary here in this video. So this is the end of this video. Please like, share, subscribe, and also if you want me to cover a certain topic or a certain package, please write it in the comments so that I'll make the same in the future. And thank you so much. I'll see you all in the next video.